Let's get to what's happening tonight by way of what happened last night. Brad Marchand spoke yesterday, and he was talking about his injury, his not being able to play in the last few playoff games. Of course, Game 6 is tonight as the Bruins play the Panthers at TD Garden. Panthers up 3-2 in the series. There is much discussion about Brad Marchand's availability for tonight. He was a full participant in practice yesterday, but he spoke. He spoke about Sam Bennett and about how things went with that play.
I think you get away with one, but I mean that's part of the game and definitely part of playoff hockey. Yeah, it sucks to be on the other side of it. That stuff happens. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. That's part of the game. But yeah, I think you got away with one, but it is what it is.
I mean, good on him. I mean, it would have been extraordinarily hypocritical for him to say
he's not going to get any sympathy.
No, slew foots and everything else.
God.
I mean,
he's the worst of the worst for a decade.
Yeah.
So
until he probably, and even worse, before he realized he was good, and Patrice Bergeron started getting in his ear. But good for him. Good for him taking it. Good for him. That's the way you do it. But it gets better.
He plays hard. He's an extremely physical player, great player for the group. I think he got away with a shot, but, I'm not going to complain. I mean, it happens, and that's part of especially playoff hockey.
Oh, yes. Tell us more about the playoffs, please, Brad.
That's part of the game. I mean, it's part of playoffs. People don't want to say it, but part of playoffs is trying to hurt every player on the other team. And the more guys you take out, the more advantage your team has. And people don't say that, but that's just a fact of the game. And so every time you step on the ice, someone's trying to hurt someone. That's just how it goes in playoffs. And
that is fantastic.
It's so good.
That is fantastic.
I've never
and it
heard
makes,
this, ever.
It makes playoff hockey by far the best.
Oh my God.
Now it's by far the best. In a world where basketball teams are conceding playoff games like in the third quarter. They really are. I want to talk about that later with you, John, as you are the resident basketball expert. I mean, it's obviously what's happening. There's 50-point games, 30-point games. They're now conceding games in a sport where everyone played AAU together, and since they were 12 years old. Where guys in football share agents and are praying together after games and stuff. In every other sport, in baseball, where you don't even slide on double plays now. There's a bunch because you're not afraid that the shortstop's going to put one in your chest. Everything has been so pussified, and everyone's become so as a collective, a we. The idea that there's a sport truly with real animosity, like when we had the guy who was just okay on yesterday, Mike Rupp.
Yes.
When we had Mike Rupp on, boring. But then he said when Sean Avery stood in front of Marty Brodeur in the playoffs, they wanted to kill him, and it went 2 seasons, until they won. But he still wanted retribution. 2 seasons later, that makes you still like sports. The idea that, because even kids now,
but not only
when they play, don't truly hate each other. This hate, this willing to hurt someone is fantastic.
And the pathological honesty that Marchand is putting on display here, where he's just saying it. And I don't know if he's going to get any pushback from it from coaches or players or anything.
No coaches or players are going to push back at all, because then you'll seem like a total puss. But the league will probably. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Fine him. You can't.
No, you can't fine him.
I'm just saying, if anyone says to Marchand, it's hey, we all know that, but maybe you shouldn't have said that. We're so glad that he said it, because this is what we want to believe, and hearing him say it makes me believe that it's true.
It's trying to hurt someone. That's just how it goes in playoffs, and any time you can get an advantage on a team, it's going to help your team win. That's part of the benefit of having a physical group, and that's why you see teams go the distance with big D core and physical teams. And it's why you rarely see teams that are small and skilled go far, because, they get hurt. That's part of it.
You'll never hear anything like that again. I mean, I hope we all can stop for a second and realize that that interview with Brad Marchand stands alone. You haven't heard anything like that before, and you're probably not going to hear anything like that again. That was something to remember. In a sea of hundreds and thousands of athletes basically saying nothing in front of cameras and microphones.
In podcasts, I mean, you have more access to
Hours
athletes
and
than you've ever had.
hours of breaking things down in boring tones. That stands alone. You will never hear anything like that again from an athlete.
Analysts are too scared to say something like that. Like, the analysts don't even say stuff like that. And if the league was smart, they would counter-program against the NBA because that's really their competition, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I would counter-program that. Fights. We really care. You know what? That would be my my tagline. We really care. NHL playoffs, we really care. And I obviously wouldn't, diss the NBA. I mean, I would, but they wouldn't. But I would sell this like you couldn't sell anything before. I'd go in a pussified world, me included, where I don't want to fight anymore. But in this world where everyone's on the same team, everyone's got the same agent, there's no loyalty to the uniform, where it's all about money. There still exists something where there is true animosity and true violence. I love it very much.
Now, as to whether or not Marchand plays tonight, Montgomery.
I don't know since when.
No, forget. You know what? Forget it. Let's hear from Brett Marchand because he's the one telling the truth about things. You going to play?
Hopefully, yeah. Just going through the steps and we'll see how tomorrow goes, but hopefully.
You don't
so
put
going
him
through
in
the
front of
steps.
Tomorrow is today.
He's on step 4.
All right. There we go.
He's taking a very thorough personal inventory.
Short of a relapse, and with concussions.
Well, don't say that.
but
He's only on the 4th step.
Let's hope not. But you don't put him in front of microphones and do interviews unless he's going to play.
No, and he did a full practice.
And full practice.
Yeah, he's
plus
playing.
You do interviews afterwards.
Yeah, he's
you're
playing.
in.
There's no doubt about it. He's playing. I guess conceivably stranger things have happened, but I would guess the bet's off the board.
Yeah, wake up in the morning and then something weird happens. But short of that, he was good enough to go yesterday.
There is one thing that Montgomery said yesterday, which is interesting. I don't know if we've talked about it here or I talked about it elsewhere, but the whole idea of home ice in hockey.
I don't know since when, but I would say teams are better on the road. There is a negative side to playing home is when your fans start to boo you, it impacts your players. It just does. We've seen it with other teams. We saw it in Toronto. We've seen it here.
And I think we have talked about it, Fred, and with Wallach, how going on the road and how a hockey team, Bob Beers, has said, oh, no, you play better on the road because you're away from the distractions of family and friends, and it's just about hockey. All you're doing is hotels and hockey games. That's it. So
that's the thing is that Jaffe said when he was in here,
yeah.
Jaffe and Beers, they both said, because remember when the Bruins were playing bad and they had that massively long homestand? Yeah. And they both were like, that
was in and out of the All-Star break. I remember
that.
Yeah,
they were like, they need to get out of town. They need to get away from their families.
Yeah.
Like, they need to bond as a unit. Beers always wants to get the hell out of here, too. Everyone else bitches about traveling. Beers, he's still got in his blood, baby. He's like, I'm going to Winnipeg. Let's go. I'll sit under the tanning lamp there.
Winnipeg in February. Let's go.
No, because he has 2 bags, one with, clothes and one with just a sun lamp.
Right.
And he just puts it in his hotel in Winnipeg and tans.
You take 2 bags.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist.